covenant. The second covenant is all about having it to where the Israelites are perfected within the knowledge, understanding of the scriptures. And that's the whole of the Israelites. You ain't gonna be able to have it to where the beast man is gonna go out there into the Israelite woman and tell the Israelite woman this is how you should conduct yourself, okay, and spew out poisons amidst all of the people by way of the women. You wasn't gonna have that anymore, because by way of the second covenant, okay, we was gonna be perfected, following the laws, that's commandments of the Most High to a perfection, man. And that's gonna come within those new bodies, okay. But that's a different lesson for a different day. So, Obadiah 3 says, "The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock." Wait, hold on a minute. This is what it was talking about within the book of Job, the 30th chapter. How that it was pushed forth into bushes. How that it was pushed off into the caves. Okay, how that it was pushed into the clefts of the rock. Okay, but the scripture is saying here, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, because he was going to come back, build his empire up, okay, build all of these different countries up, America, Britain, Germany, Russia, okay, because as much as we like the Russians are still Edomites too. Now you got some Jakes that's going to be scattered across them different nations, but the Russians are Edomites too. They're going to be destroyed too, as much as America's going to be destroyed. You ain't going to have no winner coming out of this war that you're going to have out there. The only winner is going to be the Israelites, man. Okay? When you read about the scriptures tie into the destruction of Babylon, which is the whole entirety of this whole infrastructure. It ties in with the destruction of the infrastructure of Babylon with the salvation of the people of the Most High. The salvation of the people of the Most High goes into the fact that the Most High is going to give them laws, statutes, commandments impregnated within their mind. Laws, statutes, commandments impregnated within their minds means that you ain't going to have a need for Esau. Okay? You ain't going to have a need for that. You got a kid, right? And you're whipping the kid, boom, up until he reaches 17, 18 years old. 17, 18 years old, he's well behaved. You ain't going to need that need for that belt anymore. And the same thing applies for Esau. He's nothing but an instrument that the Most High uses, okay, to whip the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. You all right there? Yeah?
Are you all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks. Where'd you come from?
First.
Where'd you come from?
Where do you come from originally?
Yeah.
Africa. Where do you come from? Then?
Oh, were you from West Africa?
No, well, at one point, yeah, my ancestors, not me.
Ah, yeah, where are your parents from?
My parents are from Barbados.
Oh, you're from Barbados? Okay,
Yeah.
so you're gonna be a Benjamite. You know about you believe in the scriptures?
I don't know if I'm a Benjamite, but
Well,
I'll talk to you later.
Oh,
My family around this
okay.
village place.
Well, if you don't come back, well, the people out there within the West Indies, they're the tribe of Benjamin. They're Israelites. They're not West Indian. West Indian is a new term.
Well, it is a new term for people who took there onto the island.
Exactly. The people that was taken there were Israelites.
Exactly right.
Right. So let's go back into the scriptures now. This is the book of Obadiah, the 3rd chapter. It says, "The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?" And that's a prideful statement. Okay, but when you see how this man conducts himself on a military scale, he just has no remorse at all. Okay? He will have you believe that he's going to last forever and ever. But when we read the scripture clearly tells you that he was going to build up the cities, he was going to build up the wastes, but he was going to be destroyed. Okay? He was going to come up into prominence. He was going to come up. He was going to be the in thing. He was going to be the new dog. He was going to take down the Media Persians. That was like an unspeakable thing back in the day. But see, you had it to where you had this individual by the name of Alexander the so-called Great, right? He knew by way of the scriptures, and when you read his history, he went out there into the land of Jerusalem. He went out there into Israel, into the land of Jerusalem, to find out about himself. Okay, because the priest that was with him, they said, "Look, you're that goat that the book of Daniel speaks about. You're that individual that's going to take down the Media Persians." And when he had spoken about taking down the Media Persians to his own men, they was looking at him like he was crazy. But here it is, you had it to where he took him down. The same thing goes for Esau around about the 1600s. You had all of these Jake empires throughout the four corners of the earth. The Moors, okay, the English out here within the land of England, okay, they were Jakes up in this place. And you had it to where Esau just came and just took all of those empires down, man. So you had a certain amount of pride to him, but see, the scripture says that those empires were taken down for one simple fact: that the people that was dwelling within them, the Israelites, were going off. They weren't following the Lord's such commandments of the Most High, so the Most High took them away and carried them away into captivity. You read about the history of the slave ships. Them slave ships didn't just come from Africa. They was coming from Spain. Why was there black people out there within Spain when their history tells you that these people were taken from the West into the interiors of the west coast of Africa? Because you had it to where all of these empires across the four corners of the earth, they were being run by, for a period of 1,000 years, were being run by Israelites, and by way of the law and not following the law, the Most High judged them, man. Okay, the Most High brought about judgment upon them. Okay, so now you got it to where Esau's in power. The Most High is having it to where what? The Most High is having it to where he's carrying himself around with a certain amount of pride. Okay, he's feeling himself. Okay, but he's not realizing with the resurgence of the prophets of the Most High, what he's realizing, because Scripture says, when they shall see them, okay, then shall fear come upon them when they see the prophets of the Lord, man. Okay, great fear shall come upon them because they're going to know they have a short time. Okay, merging two scriptures right there, the book of Revelations, the 12th chapter, and the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. Okay, but see, this whole thing that we're living in right now, this was all prophesied within the scriptures as Esau's going to come back for a period of time, but the Most High was not going to withstand his empire. The Most High was going to allow him to build himself to be destroyed. That's why the scripture says that what? The pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Because from the scriptures, from the prophecy, he was going to be in the clefts of the rocks. He was going to build up, but he was going to be destroyed. Let's go to the book of Malachi real quick. Okay. It's the book of Malachi, the 1st chapter and the 3rd verse. So it says, and this is the 2nd chapter, brother man. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? And was not Esau's Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Ye love Jacob. Going to show you that what? The Most High does whatever he wants. Okay, the similar sort of thing is exemplified within the book of Romans, the 8th chapter. So this is the book of Malachi, the 1st chapter and the 3rd verse. And it says, I've hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And that's the prophet. That's the same thing it tells you within the book of Revelations, the 18th chapter, the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. How the Esau again was going to build himself up. Okay, he was going to perpetuate all of this wickedness. Proudly perpetuate all of this wickedness. You speak to these people and you go up against the orders that they come under, all right, which is the order of wickedness. They're going to come up against you as if you come up against their whole heritage, because their whole heritage is a heritage of wickedness, man. Okay, so the Most High is going to have it to where what? It's going to be turned into a whole desert. Okay, that's what the book of Revelations, the 18th chapter tells you. That's what the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter tells you. How the Esau's land was going to be just completely turned into a desert. Okay, so let's go back into the scriptures here within the book of Malachi. It says, I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished. And they were impoverished. They was out there within the clefts of the rocks. They was out there within the Caucasus Mountains. Okay, right, I believe about north, was it near Georgia or something like that? They was out there within the Caucasus Mountains eating okay, nice, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, they was out there within the Caucasus Mountains. They was doing their bushman thing. That's why they say everybody's a caveman. Ain't everybody was a caveman. You was a caveman. Okay, you was the person that was out there within the caves. Okay, now you're ruling because the Most High has allowed you. Who has given? The scripture talks about how the kingdom of the Most High, right? He gives it to whoever he wants it, and he's talking about the earth. Okay, the control of the earth, the Most High is going to give it to you. He gave it to the Babylonians, gave it to the Assyrians, gave it to the Medo-Persians, gave it to the Greco-Roman Empire, and now he's giving it to what you know now as the dragon, right? Or with the dragon with America, the dragon with the woman that sits atop it. Okay, so it says that within the book of Malachi, the 1st chapter and the 4th verse, whereas Edom saith, we're impoverished, but we returned and built the desolate wastes. Okay, so they was going to come back. They was going to look for a place, okay, where man never dwelt. And pretty much you had people there, there are colonies there, but it wasn't like a mainland, right? So you can understand. It wasn't like because you go into the history, you find out all of these great empires that history speaks about. There's no great empire that's ever been in that portion of land which you know now as America, other than America. Okay. So you had it to where you had these Persians, the Medo-Persians, the Assyrians, the Medo-Persians, okay, the Israelites, okay, all of these different countries dwelt where? They dwelt around about the mid. These empires were built up out there within the Middle East. So as far as going way out there into the yonder, way out there into the Americas, that's a wayward thing. But the scripture says that what? They was going to come forth from amongst the caves. They was going to seek a land where basically there wasn't going to be anybody there for so you can understand. But even though there was people there, and they was going to build that place up. Okay? So here's what the scripture says is pertaining to that. So it says, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. So the Most High was going to have them, allow them to build up America, allow them to build up Babylon. Okay? Allow them to build up this conglomerate of nations that just go about destroying people. The Most High was going to allow them to do that. But the Most High said that what? The Most High said he was going to destroy it. So let's read that again. Whereas Edom saith, right, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, right, the Lord of hosts. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. Going back onto the book of Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, wherewith the scripture says that what? Babylon has been a golden cup within the Most High's hands, and how that what? The nations have become mad. Okay, so you're talking about adultery. Adultery is an all-time high because what? Because America, the Edomites out there within America have been allowed to rule, and they have allowed their borders to enlarge, and those are borders of wickedness. You go into the history of Alexandria. They said after the Alexandrian Empire existed, the Greeks came into prominence. The scripture says that wickedness expounded. The same thing happened with the resurgence, right? The brand new thing that was around about the 1600s, the discovery of America, so you can understand, okay? And how that America became what? The new empire on the scene, okay? Because before that you had what? just like how the scripture says, you had it to where you had Britain, you had these different countries that were in power at the time, and they spewed out into what? It spewed out into the Americas, because Esau had different portions here and there, okay? But ultimately, that's what was going to be the end thing. And as they enlarged their borders, as they enlarged their influence, wickedness was going to be what? Wickedness was going to be increased as much as their borders increased, because they're the man of sin. Okay. So let's go back onto the scriptures here. Now it says, they shall build, but I'll throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Most High has indignation forever. Right up until the point as spoken about within the book of Obadiah, they get wiped off. Okay? So let's go now into the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, right? Going back onto the whole, how this whole sermon started. Okay? And this is whole dealing with how Esau's going to bring about that chip. Okay? Because this whole debt ceiling, this whole thing of debt around the four corners of the earth, that comes by way of the Most High putting it within Esau's spirit to run his whole economy based on debt. Okay, just to give you a little history, you had different systems set up. Okay, barter systems, different currencies set up. Gold was used as a means of transactions. Gold and silver. Okay, and the thing with gold and silver is tangible, it's there. Okay, you can go to a different country. If you had a bag of gold right now, you can go to a different country, you can start up, you're good. Okay, now you had this whole new idea underneath the elite banking families, right? Starting first and foremost with the Rothschilds and so on and so forth. I think it was Bauer or something like that. He told these different, was it Bauer? I can't remember. But you have this man pretty much told his family, his sons, Rockefeller and Rothschilds, one to go to one portion of the land, the other to go to another portion of the land and set up a bank there. And this is how they was going to conduct the bank. All right, and they was going to have it to where the people was going to be ever slaves to paying off the debt that they have on the banks. Because look, the scripture says that Esau was wiser than Daniel. They have sought out many inventions, man. They have sought out and they have understood basic human psychology. In other words, if a person has access to credit, they're going to spend that credit. That's going to make you a lot of money over a lot of money over a period of time. Because people are always going to overspend. That's just basic human psychology. Okay, so now you got it to where you got these banks up all over the place by where these what you know as the Illuminati, if you will, which is just the house of Esau. Okay, you got it to where you got all of these banks set up for the four corners of the earth. Now you got it to where people are heavily in debt, and now you got it to where financial collapse, right, is becoming more and more of a thing within the news. It's becoming more and more of a thing within the so-called alternative news. Okay, it's just a thing that's being pushed and pushed and pushed heavy because that's what's coming into the world. Now that's a very important thing for as far as the mark of the beast is concerned, because although you can have a military, okay, a military intervention or a war, World War III or whatever, the economy might collapse. But if you check out the history, the economy during periods of war, World War I, World War II, was basically being run off of war and expansion. Okay, so you still had some kind of existence. Okay, the financial system still existed. So what they want to do, right, to have it to where this mark of the beast system is pushed out, they want to have it to where the economy crashes. Okay, that's why you got it to where all of these different people and hence these different currencies are heavily indebted, because they've used this thing of overspending and overconsumption, okay, as a means to do that, and as a result, people are just gonna happily take this chip as a alternative to cash. Okay, you're gonna take this chip as an alternative to cash because that's the only option they're gonna have to have a similitude of the life that they had before. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the scriptures. Now I'm gonna go into the scriptures and show you that the Most High prophesied that this individual Esau was gonna come about like this. Okay, printing money out of thin air. Okay, issuing credits on the Federal Reserve, which is not a private entity. It's rather more, it's a private entity and it's not federal. Okay, the Federal Reserve prints checks on a bank balance of zero. Okay, you would think that they're the criminals. Okay. If an individual person would do that, the person would be put in jail for what? For fraud, right? But they issue out credit on a bank balance of zero, and that's what's issued out there into your day-to-day Lehman Brothers and so on and so forth. That's what they trade, currency, okay? But that currency is worthless. It means nothing, okay? It only means anything up until only means something because the people believe it means something. And when that disbelief comes about by way of these things called debt ceilings and safe havens and whatever, all of this financial jargon, okay, when that whole crash comes about, you're gonna need a new system to replace the old one so people got access to food, water, and shelter. That's what's gonna come about. That thing of a chip is gonna be like a survival thing, okay? If you got the chip, you're gonna eat. You ain't got the chip, you ain't gonna eat. Right, save the Most High has it to where he sends a raven, right, with a basket full of bread or something like that, and that's what you're hoping for. That's why faith is way out there. Okay, but let's go into the scriptures now. This is the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, on the 1st verse. Start from the top. The point really is in the 6th chapter, and then I'll go to the book of Ezekiel, the 34th chapter, because I wanted to touch on some bits on that. This is the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. It says, "I will stand upon my watch. I'll set me upon the tower and see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved." Okay, so you got the men of the Lord out there. They're prophesying. The scripture says how that the men of the Lord weren't going to be the prophets of the Lord weren't going to be pushed out there into a corner anymore. Okay, we're at the end of this thing. So at the end of every empire, you're reading about the different prophets that have come about. Right, different prophets that went out there to Nineveh before Nineveh was destroyed. Okay, the different prophecies that went out to Tyre and Zidon before Tyre and Zidon was destroyed. Okay, the different prophecies as pertaining to the 12 tribes of Israel before the 12 tribes of Israel as a nation was destroyed. Okay, now we still exist, but our country, that belongs on there into the gutter rats. The book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, told you that. Was it 36 or 37? Not 38, but it's 36 or 37. Okay. You got into where Amalek is out there within the land of Israel right now, calling himself the Jews of the Most High. Okay, he's calling himself an Israelite, but he is of the other family. He is the seed of the wicked, and he's calling himself the seed of the righteous. Because what? Because we want from the Lord's statutes, commandments of the Most High. All right, but going back onto the point I was making, which slips me right now, but pretty much. You had it to where, yeah, there we go. But pretty much before that happened, you had it to where the prophecies were pushed out there. So the same thing is happening out here now. People know that we're at the precipice of a war, a World War III. Everyone understands that even the thought of a World War III is going to bring about a hell of a lot of death, much more so than World War II. World War II was a war, right, for an ending, right, an only ending. All right, by the first use of nuclear weaponry. That's how it ended. And if we're starting a war with nuclear weaponry, who's gonna be left after? Okay, let's put that into perspective. World War I. Okay, you had mass death, but still no nuclear bomb. World War II, mass death, and it ended because the mass death that was brought about by way of that H bomb. Now you go into the beginning, all right? The very beginning of World War III is going to be that the more advanced technology that came about by way of ending of it. Okay, that's what's going to be in play. Or you're gonna have a lot of people getting absolutely taken out, man. You're gonna have a lot of people being taken out, right? And the reason I say that is this: you had less people being taken out. Okay, before all of these, you had less people, smaller empires being taken out, and the Lord putting His prophets out there. Well, how much more so this so-called great empire that is America, that the Lord was going to bring out His prophets, and they was going to prophesy about the destruction of this place. Okay, and that's the same thing that we're doing right now. That's why the scripture says that that the Lord was going to have it to where Habakkuk and the men alike in the latter end was going to stand upon their watch, man. Okay, so let's go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, right quick, and build up on that idea. Okay, because there are different things that was going to happen as a result, man. So it says, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, okay, and the 1st verse. It says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him and made no account of his labors. And when we read the history and when you read the prophecies, pretty much Esau was going to come down heavy upon the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Much more so than he was required. Okay? Much more so than he was than that was needed. The scripture talks about that. Okay, and the scripture also talks about how the pretty much the Most High was going to have it to where the double of that portion was going before him. But we ain't going to go out there beyond what's morally justifiable, man. Because Esau will do some weird things with a broom. He would cut a man's rod off, and he'll call that judgment. That ain't judgment. That's beyond what's necessary, man. Okay, he'll put a man out there within the prison for like 30 years. That's beyond what's necessary. The scripture says that if a man commit adultery, you put him to death. Right? If he wants to be, if he wants to offend unto death, he gets put to death. The scripture doesn't talk about no eternal punishment, man. That's unrighteous. Okay, and then you're gonna put that same individual that was in the prison for 30 years. You're gonna put them